So I just wrote a post called "Stop Hiding Behind Complexity and Start Delivering Continuously." And the premise of the post is that any person in any organization working on any software anywhere in the world that says our software is too big and too complex to be able to deliver continuously is either, I don't know, I'm going to be a little bit controversial here, but they're either lying, they're lazy, or they don't know how. Probably they don't know how is the most likely thing. They don't understand how to get from where they are right now with their mainframe backed, old crusty software to continuous delivery. We don't know how to get there, but you can get there. If there was an organizational will, to improve the quality of the product, if there was an organizational will to improve the speed of delivery of features in the product, right? Because improving the delivery of features in the product is not about adding more people. It's about getting your product in shape, right? If you've got this huge, lumbering, obese product, it's not going to be able to do the things quickly that you want it to be able to do. People aren't going to be able to get it to do the things that you want it to do quickly. It's lumbering. It's the 500-pound gorilla in the room, right? But it doesn't have to be. How would you as an individual, if you were not where you wanted to be health wise, how would you get healthy? How would you get to that goal that you wanted of perhaps you want to look like Hugh Jackman in the Wolverine, right? How would you get from where you are right now to there? Because it is possible. I mean, you wouldn't look exactly like him because everybody's body type's different, but you know what I mean? How would you get that type of physique, that level of body fat? Well, you're going to have to work. You're going to have to work. You're going to have to change all aspects of your life in pursuit of that goal, right? You're going to have to eat differently. You're going to have to exercise differently. You're going to have to change when you do things, how you do things in order to get to that physique you want. If you want your software to get to that physique so that it's easy peasy to add features to your product, then you've got to do the work to not just ensure that it gets there. And that's the tough part, right? If you're incredibly unfit, getting to that fitness point is really hard. Maintaining it is easier, right? Once you are fit, let's call it, once the product is fit, maintaining it in that position is definitely easier. It still requires investment and effort and time to do things, but you're not necessarily doing the same things that you had to do in order to get there. It should be easier. Should be easy. And that's where you see a lot of organizations and software struggling. I think the one that gets me is every so often the airlines falter, right? Ken once called it a scrumble, right? I know they might not be doing Scrum, but it's like a cross between Scrum and stumble. You effectively, you trip over your feet, you fall on your face because something's wrong with the way you're doing, the way you're running, the way you're doing something, the way you're building your product, and you fall on your face. And if you just pick yourself up and start running again, you're in danger of having exactly the same thing happen. And you see that with the airlines, right? They have these old mainframe systems under the covers, deep in the bowels of their systems that they don't understand. They don't have people that can understand anymore. I think American Airlines, I heard stories about pulling people out of finding the last person who could fix the system. And they were in a retirement home and having to pay them exorbitant amounts of money to come out and take them 5 minutes to fix it, right? Knowing where to poke. because they've lost that knowledge, they've lost that capability, yet they keep that system. They've lost understanding of a system and they keep it around, which is massive amounts of risk. You see that American Airlines has been down, Delta's been down, British Airways has been down. And those are the big ones that I can think of because they hit the news because they're massive airlines. But the reason they've been down is because they've not cared for their application. They've done a one and done, right? You build it, you get to the end of the project to build it, and then that project is done. There's no more funding, therefore the product then starts to stagnate, atrophy, and decompose. That's what happens, right? I mean, the system keeps doing what it was always doing, but the systems around it are changing. The needs of the business are changing. The world has changed, and then you have to layer on more and more stuff to take care of the fact that this core of the system doesn't necessarily work exactly like you need it to work, but you can't change it anymore. Or you feel like you can't change it anymore. And all of that is crap. It's all crap. You absolutely can change it. You absolutely can fix it. You absolutely can make those problems go away. You can make it so you never go down again. You can make it so that when what was it? It was when CrowdStrike happened, right? Wait, failure of DevOps. Let's not talk about that one. But when CrowdStrike happened, I think it was Delta Airlines. I think it was Delta was taken out by it, and it took them a week, even though CrowdStrike fixed the problem within hours, right? So theoretically, Delta was only out of action from the external source for hours. The implication of that outage, the implication was that they really struggled to get a whole bunch of systems up because they didn't have good resilience, didn't have good disaster recovery, didn't have good stories around these things that were practiced and manageable and able to be delivered quickly. So it took ages of people running around with their hair on fire to get stuff working. And I think some of the stuff didn't come up and running for a week, more than a week after the outage. That's not good enough, right? That's a business risk. That's a time bomb waiting to happen in your organization. Don't have those systems. Those are not the right systems for if you're running a multi-billion-dollar business. Those are not the right systems. Man, if you're running a little business, right? Because risk is, what's it called when it matches your size? Like if it's 10% risk that something's going to go down, if you're a small business, that's a massive risk to your business. If you're a huge, massive multinational, it's the same amount of risk, right? It's 10% of your business. So proportional, that's the word I was looking for. Fix it. Get off your ass and fix it. And this is not just an engineering problem, right? Because you'll probably find that there are engineers around this system. There are managers of those engineers around this system that know, they know the problem. They know what it'll take to fix it, right? They know those things, but there is no organizational will to fix it because it's going to take time, effort, and money. Time and effort costs money. It's going to take time, effort, and money to deliver on those changes, to fix those problems. And organizations don't want to pay for it because they don't see the value, right? They throw their toys out the pram when something goes wrong and demand it be fixed and demand it never happen again. But the only way for it to never happen again is they get out their checkbook and they write a check that's big enough to make sure it doesn't happen again, for the engineers to go fix the problem, to remove those systems, to replace those systems, to upgrade those systems, and to continuously upgrade those systems. They don't have a good application lifecycle management, right? They don't have it. And that's why I feel like they're hiding behind the complexity, right? Oh, this is too big and too complicated and it's too difficult to do those things with. No, it's not. It's really not. Just fix it. The Windows team went from delivering to production once every 6 years with massive amounts of legacy code. I know somebody who worked on the Windows team who was talking about what they were working on, and they're the ones that were responsible for. Do you remember when you used to copy a file or a group of files from one folder to another in Windows? If there was one file that had an error, it would just crap out the process. and stop, and you've copied half the files, and you have not copied the rest, and you don't know which is which. And they went in and changed the file copying protocols so that it had resumability and it had the retry button and all of those things. That was their work. And the code that they were changing hadn't been changed since 1985. This was maybe 10 years ago, right? So what's that? 20, hadn't changed in 20 years. That's not good enough. And that's why, it's not the reason, that's not the cause, but that's why Windows changed. That's why Windows became this continuous delivery story, because that's how you build modern products. Continuous delivery forces you to deal with those problems because they start magnifying, right? If you're trying to do continuous delivery and you've got some slow moving mainframe system in the back end that the team can only deploy once a month, and you're deploying many times a day, and you need changes from them, they're not going to be able to keep up. They're just not. They're going to become the bottleneck. They're going to become the thing that you need to go fix. So go fix it. Don't just look at it and go, yeah, I've got another blog post about ignoring the signals, right? That's a signal in your organization to say there's something wrong here. You need to fix it. And yes, it might take investment of money, time, and effort. Azure DevOps, when it was TFS, took I guess they went to deploying Azure DevOps overnight, getting it up and running within a couple of weeks. But to really pay back the technical cruft, the long years of just fire and forget code, right? To really start to pay that back, took them almost 4 years of continuous effort. Now they're delivering features, and in fact, they were ramping up and delivering more and more and more features throughout that time. But they still had to continue that effort, and they continue that effort to this day to start breaking up some of those monolith pieces that make sense to break up, because there's nothing wrong with a monolith, but break them up so that they can deliver some things continuously and other things take longer. And what do you need as a business? There has to be a business need for it. And I can't imagine that American Airlines is sitting there saying, we're okay with this ticking time bomb of risk that could happen at any moment, at any time, on any day. It could happen on Christmas Day. It could happen on our biggest sales day of the year. And we're okay with that. Nobody's sitting there doing that. They just don't want to pony up the dough and get off their ass and fix the problem. No matter how much complexity you have in your system, you can move towards continuous delivery.